Good morning, students. I hope you all are in good health and I hope you all are staying safe. So, as you all know, that we have been discussing about secularism, and we have already discussed about various aspects of secularism. We have already discussed the meaning of secularism. We have discussed how secularism is practiced in India, and we have also discussed the various historical instances where religion has been the basis of persecution of the people, of the minority by the majority religious group. So we have discussed about all these things. When we were discussing about how secularism is practiced in India, or how Indian state practices secularism, so I told you that there are various ways. Like, first of all, Indian state treats all the religions equally and has kept itself at a distance from all the religions. Like, no government institution, whether it's a school or if it's a government office, no religious festival could be celebrated there. And then another example was how Indian state respects all the religion is that if a practice is integral to a religion, like the example was of Sikhs, that it is integral for the Sikh people, Sikh males, to wear a turban, so it's not compulsory for them to wear a helmet. So that is also an example of how Indian state practices secularism. So these were the examples of how Indian state doesn't intervene in the religious matters. And another example how secularism is practiced by Indian state was of a positive intervention by the Indian state in religious matters. Though Indian state has kept itself at a distance from religious institutions and religious practices, but still, if there is a religious practice or a social practice that you can say that violates the fundamental rights or the human rights of the citizens, then it might intervene. So I have told you already about this, that how untouchability or the practice of sati has been banned in India, though these were religious practices, but because these were in violation of the basic fundamental rights or basic human rights of the people, that's why these have been banned by the Indian government. So I forgot to give another example that is a quite recent one. Recently, you all must have heard about the triple talaq bill, that how triple talaq has been banned by the Indian government. So this is also an example of of intervention in the religious matter by the Indian state. So because Indian government considers that giving talaq in one go by a Muslim male is against the fundamental rights or human rights of a Muslim female. So that's why a triple talaq has been banned by the Indian government. So this is also example of intervention by Indian state in religious matter. See, the thing is, in India we do not have a uniform civil code. A uniform civil code is something that governs matters related to family, like marriage or divorce or right to inheritance and all these things. So in India, different religion have their personal laws. So Muslims are governed according to their personal law or the Sharia law, and then Hindus have their own personal law. So all these matters are governed according to that. But if need arises, though these are religious matters, the government can intervene in these. So we can say that Indian Constitution allows the Indian state to intervene in religious matters in order to end a religious practice that it believes discriminates or excludes, or something that violates the fundamental rights of lower caste or minority group or females or anyone else, or simply you can say of citizens of this country. So to ensure that the laws relating to this religious matters are in accordance with the fundamental rights and human rights, so the government can intervene. And also government can intervene in the laws relating to personal laws of communities. So this was about how secularism is practiced in India. Now let's take a look how Indian secularism is different from that of other democratic countries, like how it is practiced in other states, and what is the difference between the practice here in India and of other countries. See, some of the things related to secularism are same in other democratic and secular countries also. Like the First Amendment to the US Constitution prohibits the legislature from making laws respecting an establishment of religion or that prohibited the free exercise of religion. So here the word establishment means that the legislature cannot declare any religion as the official religion. So it is same as India. In India also, the Indian state can't declare any religion as its official religion, and nor can they give preference to one religion. So here also the similarity is there. Indian state also can't give preference to one religion, and in USA the separation between state and religion means that neither the state nor religion can interfere in the affairs of one another. So here also little bit similarity you can say is there, because Indian state also doesn't interfere in the religious practices, and religious institutions are also not allowed to intervene in the working of the state institutions. But what makes the Indian secularism different from the secularism how it is practiced in USA is that in USA there is a strict separation between religion and state. That state doesn't interfere in any of the religious practices, whether it violates the fundamental rights or whatever the reason is. State doesn't interfere in the religious practices of the people. But that's not the case in India. In Indian secularism, the state can intervene in religious affairs. As I just told you that how Indian constitution intervened in Hindu religious practices in order to abolish untouchability, or how Indian constitution intervened in Muslim religious practices to ban triple talaq. So in Indian secularism, though the state is not strictly separate from religion, because it is interfering, it does interfere in certain religious matters if it violates, as I told you, in fundamental rights of the citizens. But it does maintain a principal distance, you can say, from the religion. ऐसे नहीं है कि it is intervening in each and every religious practice or it is dominating the religious matters of the people. No, it's not like that. The state does intervene in some religious practices if it violates the constitution, if it violates the constitutional rights or the fundamental rights or the human rights of the citizen. So only then the Indian state intervene. So this doesn't mean that if Indian state is intervening in religious certain religious matters of the people, so it's not secular. No, Indian state is secular in all its aspects, you can say. In fact, the freedom of religion has been included in the Constitution of India as the fundamental right, as one of the fundamental rights of the people. So that means that Indian state is secular, and the interference in religious matters by the state is only on the ideals laid out in the Constitution. If the state is trying to intervene in the matters that about which there is nothing laid out in the Constitution, then it would be illegal, and state doesn't do that. And right to equality also ensures that all the citizens of this country are treated equally, irrespective of their religion, of their caste, of their gender, of anything. Irrespective of anything, all must be treated equally by the state. So that means that Indian state is secular, and so all these are the ideals that have been laid out in the Indian constitution. And in fact, these ideals, they serve as the standard through which we can judge whether the state is or is not behaving according to secular principles. अब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन मेकर्स ने ये सारी अच्छी चीज़ें रखी हैं, लाइक सेक्युलरिज्म, लाइक इक्वालिटी एंड ऑल दीज थिंग्स, बट वेदर द स्टेट इज़ प्रैक्टिसिंग these or not, or whether the state is behaving according to these principles or not, so we can judge these, we can easily judge the practice of the state on the basis of these ideals that have been laid out in the Indian constitution. In fact, going by the constitution, obviously the Indian state is secular, and it does work in various ways to prevent religious domination by the majority. And Indian state guarantees fundamental rights, and as I just told you, that right to freedom is given to the citizens as a fundamental right. And in fact, apart from the right to freedom, all other fundamental rights also are based on a secular principle. However, if something is given in the constitution, so that doesn't guarantee that it would be practiced actually also. So there are instances where certain violations happen. There are instances where there is persecution of minorities, or there are instances where lower castes are treated unequally, or there is harassment or oppression of lower caste or the minorities. And to prevent them, a constitutional mechanism should be there to prevent such things from happening. You all must have read in the newspapers, or you all must have heard from your parents or elders at home or in news, that how in last 2 or 3 years cases of mob lynchings have increased against the minorities in India. So obviously that is a violation of secularism, that is a violation of the secular principle laid out in the Indian constitution, that is a violation of equality that Indian constitution guarantees to each and every citizen of India. So, we do need a constitutional mechanism to prevent such cases from happening. And apart from a constitutional mechanism, the awareness or the knowledge that such right exists would make people more aware and would make us more sensitive to such violations, and would also enable us to take action when these violations take place. क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोगों को तो चीज़ें मालूम ही नहीं है ना आपके कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में आपके क्या राइट्स हैं, आपकी क्या ड्यूटीज़ हैं. द मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द पीपल डोंट नो अबाउट दीज. तो अगर पता होगा, अगर अवेयरनेस होगी, तो चांसेस हैं कि वायलेशंस भी कम होंगे, और अगर इन केस अगर कोई वायलेशन होता है तो देयर इज़ अ चांस दैट एक्शन वुड टेक प्लेस. सी, if you are aware of your rights and if you see any of your right being violated or right of any other person being violated by someone, so you can complain about the same, and obviously then action would be there. So in such way these violations I hope के कम हो जाएंगे अगर अवेयरनेस आती है लोगों में. तो बहुत ज़रूरी भी है आज के टाइम पे, स्पेशली बिकॉज इन रिसेंट ईयर्स वी हैव literally seen hatred being growing in Indian society.